From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Hello, you're watching Race to Power. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. Bangladesh votes tomorrow in a historic election that will decide the future of the political landscape in the country. On the show, we get you more on this high-stakes battle that is playing out there. Our focus would also be on Iran. The country celebrated 10 days of WION when its army declared neutrality. We trace the journey from 1979 till date. Let's talk about Bangladesh first. Bangladesh is set for a democratic reset. Voters will head to the ballot box on Thursday morning. This is, remember, the first electoral exercise after the ouster of the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. From July 2024 till the 12th of February 2026, Bangladesh has seen Hasina's departure, Khalida Zia's demise, and widespread violence. Addressing concerns over law and order situation, Bangladesh's interim government has ramped up security arrangements. The deployment includes personnel from the country's armed forces, the police, and the Rapid Action Battalion. Collectively, around 1 million security personnel will be on duty to ensure security on multiple levels of the voting process. There are a total of 260,000 polling booths and 43,000 polling stations across 300 constituencies. A total number of eligible voters in Bangladesh stands at over 127.5 million. These elections are unlike any other in Bangladesh's political history, where people are being asked to cast two votes, one for the parliamentary representatives and the other for the constitutional referendum. Campaigning for the elections ended 48 hours before the vote. After colourful posters were prohibited, candidates have now hung black and white posters across various cities. There are two major political forces vying for victory in these elections. First is the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the BNP, led by former Prime Minister Khalida Zia's son. And the second one is the coalition of Islamist parties led by Jamaat-e-Islami. The majority of the polls are giving advantage to Tariq Rahman, but some suggest that Jamaat is giving a tough fight to the BNP. Sheikh Hasina's Awami League is barred from contesting these elections, and this has sparked a debate on political fair play. Apart from that, there are major concerns about the participation of women and the minorities in these elections, especially after increased cases of violence against minorities and Jamaat chief's inflammatory remark against working women. 394 international observers and 197 foreign journalists have landed in Dhaka. These include representatives from European Union and 21 other countries. The UN has called on authorities to ensure inclusive, safe, and meaningful participation of women in these elections. Meanwhile, Bangladesh's chief advisor Mohammad Yunus has said that he will step down as soon as the new government takes charge. Unofficial results will start emerging during the early hours of Friday, but the wait could last longer this time, as votes for the referendum and the elections will be counted simultaneously. And let's also listen from the voters on what they think on this election and the entire referendum.
The election has been reduced to a game between only the center right and the right wing and the extreme right factions. So there is no options for me to vote for.
I pray and hope that peace will prevail here, that people of all faiths will coexist forever.
We will vote only if it remains peaceful. We just need one thing from the administration to provide security, as we feel afraid during the elections.
I want our people to choose a government that won't fear criticism, those who won't consider dissenting voices as enemies, but rather will respect them.
And let me go across to our Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibbal, who is in Bangladesh covering these elections. Siddhant, extremely important elections for Bangladesh. This is historic in many ways, considering the fact that this is the first time that it's happening after the fall of the Sheikh Hasina government and the rise of Jamaat-e-Islami, of course, concerns of that party rising as well. But get us, the ground sentiment at the moment. Of course, preparations and security arrangements are in place, but what are the people saying there?
Well, since we have landed on the ground, one thing I've noted is heightened security presence all throughout Dhaka city. Security is present in full force, but also you won't see any vehicles, just rickshaws you will see. And largely for the authorities here, the big focus is to make sure that the election goes off peacefully. Now in pole position are two main contenders. It is Rahman versus Rahman, Shafiqur Rahman of Jamaat versus Tariq Rahman of the BNP, essentially replacing the Begum versus Begum fight of the erstwhile Bangladeshi politics. But on the ground, the many people I have been able to speak, they basically see this as a historic election, given the fact that they see this election as a break from past. And also there's a referendum as well that perhaps gives a new political structure to the country, limiting the Prime Minister's term as well. But tomorrow we'll get to know essentially how things pan out. So far, in the last 15 days, one thing is for sure that there hasn't been any major incident of violence, and that is a sigh of relief. And also several foreign observers are present on the ground, including many from European Union. So authorities are making sure that this election goes off peacefully and there's a peaceful transfer of power.
That's right, Siddhant, and we at WION, of course, you will be getting us ground reports, and here we'll be getting our viewers all the latest that's happening there. But thanks very much, Siddhant, for joining us and getting us more from what has been happening in Bangladesh right as it goes into voting. Let me also go across to Mr. Chris Blackburn, who is a security analyst with 20 years of work experience in the Indian subcontinent. He's joining us live from London. Let's get a perspective on what he thinks about these elections. Chris, good evening. Welcome to WION. Where do you see this heading? This is a very significant election for Bangladesh, happening right after Sheikh Hasina's ouster. You don't have the battle of Begums happening, considering that Awami League has been banned, Sheikh Hasina is out, Khalida Zia is no more. So clearly there are new dynamics now that are in play in Bangladesh.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's a massive historic election, and what we're seeing is basically a generational shift. Like, Sheikh Hasina is obviously playing a lesser role, even though she's in exile. We've had the death of Khalida Zia and the rise of Tariq Rahman, and then we've seen this resurgence of sort of Islamist forces in Bangladesh. I think the interim government, it's been plagued by chaos, mob violence. So hopefully we don't see a rerun of that either during the election or after. But it's amazing watching these things happen. And I think a lot of security analysts are sort of hedging their bets, but there is a lot of fear out there. And I think when we saw your program and you were talking to sort of normal Bangladeshi voters, there is a lot of fear and trepidation there. And I think what we've seen on the campaign trail, it's been quite moderate. There's actually been quite a lot of positive things said by both party leaders, from Tariq Rahman and obviously the Jamaat leader, that they want to have peaceful, friendly ties with India. So that rhetoric on the sort of anti-India side's been quite low, but we've also seen some major sort of we've seen some large debates about women and their role in politics, and there is a massive shift here. It's gone from the battling Begums to women have vanished. They've vanished from the playing field.
You know, it's interesting, Chris, that you bring in the women, because Jamaat chief in his previous remarks has equated working women to prostitutes. Then he redacted that statement saying that, look, my account was hacked and I didn't make that statement. In fact, the Jamaat-e-Islami party then went on to print in its manifesto that they will have women participating in their party. But how much do you think that would work out, both with the BNP and Jamaat? BNP has about just 7 or 8 women that they have pitched for these elections. Jamaat has none. And of course, other parties have very minimal numbers as well.
Yeah, well, I think it all goes back to when the National Citizens Party, the NCP, they were basically run by women, and they've decided that they wanted to go down a path of an election, sort of an alliance with Jamaat, and the women were saying that, no, we're being sidelined. And I think the comments by the Jamaat-e-Islami leader that the women were prostitutes with the alleged hack, he went and reinforced that when he actually did an interview with Al Jazeera, where he said, listen, women in leadership positions isn't part of Bangladesh's culture. Well, this is unbelievably strange, because the battling Begums have dominated Bangladeshi politics for decades. 2 women leaders at the top of the 2 most popular parties. So to say that that's not part of Bangladesh's culture is a slap in the face to all the women in Bangladesh.
You know, one of the big concerns, Chris, is also about minorities. And now reports emerging ahead of the elections, ahead of the voting day, is the fact that both BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami are now, assuring that there will be safety of minorities. Yet, we have a latest incident of a Hindu man being killed there. So, there are concerns about minorities, despite the fact that this is a rather young election. It's been dominated by Gen Z. It has the aspirations of the youth of Bangladesh, but there are concerns which stem from minority killings as well.
Yeah, and you're right to point that out. And unfortunately, when you look at the history of Bangladesh, whether even under the Awami League, there has been a sort of a reaction against minorities after elections. When the BNP Jamaat government came to power in 2000, there was attacks on Hindus because they said, "Oh, you support the Awami League," and so we've seen this, and unfortunately, it is part and parcel of Bangladesh's politics, and it's horrific to see it. And I think, yes, they can say that they want to go out and protect minorities, but whether or not that happens in practice, it's shocking, and I think we all need to do better to protect minorities.
I'll leave it there. Let's wait and see what happens tomorrow and what the results eventually are. But Chris Blackburn, thank you very much for joining us on WION and sharing your perspective. Getting you the breaking news coming in from United States of America at this moment. American officials have said that Mexican cartel drones breached American airspace. The U.S. administration has informed that Pentagon took action to disable Mexican drones. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration has now lifted the temporary closure of the airspace over El Paso. It cites no threat to commercial aviation, adding that all flights will resume as normal. Earlier, remember, the U.S. had halted all flights to and from El Paso International Airport in Texas. The airport lies next to the U.S. military's Biggs Army Airfield and sits over the border from the Mexican city of Juarez. And there was a lot of speculation as to what has been happening, because NOTAM had been issued for El Paso. Now that being lifted, and we know the reason, that U.S. aviation authority is now saying that there is no threat to commercial aviation, but Mexican cartel drones had violated U.S. airspace. That's the reasoning they have given us. Let me also go across to Susan Teherani. She's joining us live from New York, getting us the latest on this. Susan, U.S. officials now giving out the reason as to why NOTAM was issued in El Paso, but clearly a concern that Mexican cartel drones have entered U.S. airspace.
Right, and it was very significant to learn that the U.S. military was involved. The fact that the Pentagon was involved and it was just not a border enforcement issue shows that the Trump administration viewed this as a national security concern. And that's why they went all in, took those measures on the one hand, and also try to surveil these drones that apparently have been coming across the border from the El Paso region to the United States. And they're concerned that, something like this can ultimately lead to bigger confrontation and bigger issues, not just regarding cartels, but again, a national security concern indeed.
Right, Susan, thanks very much for getting us the latest at the moment. Moving on, thousands of Iranians have taken to the streets of Tehran, marking the 47th anniversary of the 1979 Islamic Revolution, with mass rallies held at the Azadi Square under heavy political and international scrutiny. The commemoration comes just weeks after a deadly crackdown on anti-government protests, unrest that has been described as the most violent since the revolution itself, with thousands reportedly killed in the government's response. The European Union has since designated Iran's Revolutionary Guards as a terror organization, a symbolic but significant shift in Europe's approach to Tehran's leadership. Tensions with Washington remain high. President Donald Trump has already deployed one aircraft carrier to the region and is now considering sending a second one, even as both sides prepare to resume nuclear talks aimed at preventing a new conflict. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, speaking during anniversary events, made it clear that Tehran will not back down. He said that Iran would not yield to what he called excessive demands on its nuclear program. In fact, he insisted that Iran is still pursuing dialogue with its neighbors to promote regional peace. This, remember, comes even as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will push US President Trump to take a tougher stance in the nuclear talks with Iran, after rushing to Washington to stiffen the US president's resolve. Donald Trump's Save America Act is set for a vote in the House of Representatives. This comes after House Rules Committee cleared the legislation for a vote. The proposed bill will change some fundamental rules for voting in the U.S. Under this new legislation, individuals will have to give proof of citizenship for voter registration. The bill also empowers the Department of Homeland Security to pursue immigration cases if non-citizens are found on voter rolls. This is part of the US President Donald Trump's plan to overhaul the voting process. He proposes three major changes. The first one, he wants every voter to show identification before they're allowed to cast their ballot. Second, Trump wants to make citizenship mandatory for voter registration. And third, what he wants to change about the US's electoral process is mail-in ballots. Donald Trump says no mail-in ballots should be allowed, barring a few exceptions. Now, Republicans argue that this measure is necessary to protect election integrity. Democrats, however, strongly oppose the bill. They call it a move to suppress the voter. Under US Constitution, remember, the state governments control the election process. They are entrusted with voter identification and electoral rolls. But the Congress can step in at any time to make law or alter regulations made by state authorities. The bill is expected to clear the hurdle in the House of Representatives as Republicans hold majority there. But the real battle lies in the Senate, where they would need support from the Democrat lawmakers to reach 60-vote threshold. The Save America Act is quickly becoming a flashpoint as America is heading for a midterm election later this year. And shifting our focus now to India, the Indian Parliament's budget session is underway. During the first 11 days, the government and the opposition have exchanged fiery debates and a series of allegations. The political temperature has remained high inside as well as outside the Parliament. Two of the country's biggest rival leaders are at the center of these rows. The leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, and the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, against whom his political rival has made several allegations. In response, the Bharatiya Janata Party-led NDA government has made Rahul Gandhi their primary target as well. With each passing day, Rahul Gandhi is scaling up his accusations and claims against the government. During his speech in the parliament earlier in the day today, the Congress leader launched a scathing attack on Prime Minister once again. From trade deal with the US to the Epstein files, he cornered the ruling party during his address.
I am saying, Speaker sir, I am saying that you have sold India. Are you not ashamed of selling India? Do you have no shame of selling India? You have sold our mother, Bharat Mata.
Rahul Gandhi also levelled allegations against Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri for his email exchanges with the late convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Rahul made these statements without notifying the House, prompting the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs Kiran Rijiju to launch a breach of privileges motion against him.
जो पुराना सिस्टम था 2 points I found.
Another heated exchange took place earlier when Rahul Gandhi tried to quote from the unpublished book of former Army Chief General M.M. Naravne. He continued to read the excerpts of the book related to the 2020 border crisis with China, despite warnings from the Speaker Om Birla. In another showdown, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla said that he personally asked Prime Minister Modi not to attend the proceedings during the motion of thanks to the President's address, citing fear of the opposition causing inappropriate incident involving the Prime Minister. Responding to this, the Congress party has accused the Speaker of political bias. In fact, they've also tabled a no-confidence motion against him, which is expected to be voted on during the second phase of the budget session, starting the 9th of March. The heated rhetoric continued to be on display outside the parliament as well. Rahul Gandhi threw a traitor jibe at former Congress and now BJP leader Ravneet Singh Bittu. The tense exchange took place outside the Makar Dwar of the parliament when Rahul saw Bittu and called him a traitor friend. It has been a tough outing for UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who finds himself in the middle of a scandal over former envoy Mandelson's ties to Jeffrey Epstein. The Labour leader fielded direct questions and accusations from the opposition during a weekly Parliament session. Between Tory leader Kemi Badenoch and the British Prime Minister, the moment turned into an exchange of pointed remarks and barbs. Take a look.
Team, Mr. Speaker, he has no plan. He can't even run his own office, let alone the country. He is now dealing with a new scandal of appointing someone who campaigned for a man convicted of having indecent pictures of girls as young as 10. Isn't the Prime Minister ashamed that that will be his legacy? Mr. Speaker,
Speaker, my legacy is changing my party and winning a general election. And I'll tell you this, I kicked my former leader out of my party. Her former leader, Liz Truss, broke the economy and has descended into bonkers conspiracy theories.
Moving on, protests once again took to the streets in Albania's capital in a fresh wave of anti-government protests. Hundreds gathered to demand the Deputy Prime Minister's resignation over allegations of corruption. The demonstrations on Tuesday evening turned violent after clashes between protesters and the police. Visuals show several protesters hurling stones and Molotov cocktails. The police, on the other hand, used tear gas on those participating in the demonstrations. The police say 16 officials have been injured in these clashes and they've arrested 13 protesters. The opposition leader, Sali Berisha of the Democratic Party of Albania, led the protests on the evening of the 10th of February. He's called for another protest on the 20th of February. That's in 10 days. Demonstrations began in the country in December last year after Special Prosecution Unit indicted Deputy Prime Minister Belinda Baluku. Baluku faces accusations of interfering in public tenders for major infrastructure projects and favouring certain companies, but she's denied all of these charges. And with that, it's time to wrap this edition of Race to Power. But as always, we'll keep getting you news and analysis from India and across the world. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
And welcome to a brand new edition of South India, a daily dynamic show that will capture the pulse of southern states.
By blending the special stories, the breaking alerts and the culture developments as well. From the
campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. More than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power. Only on WION. World is one.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
And welcome to a brand new edition of South India, a daily dynamic show that will capture the pulse of southern states.
By blending the special stories, the breaking alerts, and the culture developments as well. From the
نحن